Hello friends, this is lesson number 22 in this series of criticism in English literature, and in this lesson we shall discuss today John Keats. You know, John Keats is a famous romantic poet, and in the previous lessons we discussed the critical opinions of William Wordsworth and S.T. Coleridge. Both are the romantic poets. In fact, they are also called as the first generation poets along with William Blake. And Keats belonged to the second generation of the romantic poets along with Percy Bysshe Shelley and Lord Byron. Now, as far as his critical opinion or his views are concerned about poetry, imagination or so, he never wrote anything formally. Whatever we know about his views and opinions, we come to know about all these things through his letters. He wrote several letters to his family members and friends, and we shall try to analyze these letters one by one. And one more thing, there is a website john-keats.com, john-keats.com. On that website you can find these letters. Each letter is probably 3 or 4 pages long, and you can read these letters if you want to go deeper into these works or his opinions and views. Anyway, his first letter that we consider, that is to Benjamin Bailey, his friend. It was written in the year 1817, and in this letter he talks about imagination in poetry. So as a whole, or as a summary, or as a sum up in brief, I just tell you 3 or 4 things about his views. First, he says that there should be imagination in the mind of the poet. And for this he says, a quote is there, "What imagination sees as beauty must be truth. What imagination sees as beauty must be truth." So whatever the poet imagine, because poet is supposed to imagine beautiful or beauteous things, so these things should be truth. So these things should be near to the reality. So somewhere he is advocating that the poet should mix up both reality and imagination. He says that without imagination, this world would be quite uglier. So it won't be a beautiful or good world. Only the good and beautiful, or you can say good imagination of the poet makes this world beautiful. There is a famous line, "Beauty is truth, truth beauty." Beauty is truth, truth beauty. That is all ye know on earth and all ye need to know. This is a famous line from his poem, Ode to Grecian Urn. Okay, we consider his poems in the British literature segment, but here we are just talking about his opinion about imagination and poetry. So he is advocating that imagination is supreme and it should be there in good poetry, and only then one can, you can say, write good poetry. And further he says that imagination, whatever we imagine, it should be near to the reality. Then we discuss his famous concept given by him, that is negative capability. It was a letter written to his brother George Keats and Tom Keats. George Keats and Tom Keats. And in that letter he talks about negative capability. What is negative capability? Negative capability is not a bad thing. First, it is a good thing. You are a writer, and can you write, can you create a story about bad people, how tyrant they were? If you are writing that a story about bad people, you are not praising them. Remember, you are writing a bad story, a story about a bad person. Like Christopher Marlowe has written a play, Tamburlaine. That is about a tyrant leader, or tyrant, you can say, the man who wanted to become the leader of the king of the world, like we have Alexander the Great. So nowhere the writer Christopher Marlowe praised Tamburlaine for his negative qualities or for his demerits, but he wrote about him so greatly in depth that everyone praises his work. So this is about negative capability. You are supposed to write about bad people. It does not make you bad. This is your good quality. So here he takes one example, in fact, he consider this as an optimum example of a negative capability, the character of Iago. There is a play written by Shakespeare, Othello, and in that play we have one famous character, Iago. He is a negative character, and to produce that negative character so perfectly and with great depth, that is the quality of Shakespeare, and he praises him. And for this quality of producing negative characters or about producing negative things, he says that great artists pursue poetic beauty even at the cost of throwing themselves to the chaos of uncertainty, paradox, and confusion. And then he says that this quality, negative capability, is well possessed by Shakespeare, and the writer gets pleasure in producing such evil characters. Even in the movies you might have seen that some of the good actors, as you see, who are supposed to be in the form of or in the role of heroes, sometimes they perform the role of the villain so well. It is not their bad quality, it is their great quality that they are producing or they are performing the bad roles even with the great perfection. So this is all he praises. So negative capability is the art of producing negative character. The somewhere writer or the artist is living that character, and he is showing that the skills of writing. And then he praises one more character for good quality, like Imogen in the play Cymbeline. It is also written by Shakespeare. So negative capability allows the writer to suspend his moral concern. So I said that you have to write a story about bad people. So similarly, there is no moral concern for you that you have to write good things. When you are producing about things about bad people, then you can write so deeply about their bad things or about their bad qualities. So there is no moral concern for you, and you want to live into that character's life. And that is why he says that the quality of a negative capability is well possessed and should be admired, which Shakespeare had. And then he says that the writers who do not have this quality or this capability, they suffer from egoistical sublime. So this is the another concept, we shall consider this. So in opposition to negative capability, he gave one more concept of egoistical sublime. And this concept he talked in a letter which was written to Richard Woodhouse in the year 1818. And there, in this letter, he criticized William Wordsworth and John Milton. Especially William Wordsworth. He says that all the time Wordsworth is giving lectures on moral things. This is not the duty of the poet. The duty of the poet is to give artistic pleasure, not to lecture. And when someone is just giving moral lectures, he is possessed with the egoistical sublime. So this is a negative quality. So we have now two qualities. Negative capability, talked by John Keats, is a good quality of a writer. And egoistical sublime, the quality of a poet, is a bad quality, as said by John Keats. And egoistical sublime is possessed by William Wordsworth. Even John Milton in his Paradise Lost giving moral lectures to the people about good and evil things. So that is why he says that both the writers are suffering from the egoistical sublime. And that's all we have about his opinions. And now about the previous year questions, I shall try to quickly recite these questions. So the first: when a man is capable of being in uncertainties, mysteries, doubts, and without any irritable reaching after facts and reasons, this is a negative capability, coined by John Keats. Then another question: egoistical sublime. This term is coined by John Keats. Next question: example of negative capability given by John Keats is the character of Iago in the play Othello by William Shakespeare. Then another question: what imagination sees as beauty must be truth. It is said by John Keats. Then there is a quote: I am certain of nothing but holiness of heart. I am certain of nothing but holiness of heart, affections and truth of imagination. What the imagination sees must be truth. So these are the lines from the letter written to Benjamin Bailey, and here he compares the imagination to Adam's dream. So this is a typical example, Adam's dream. So these lines are compared to Adam's dream. And one more thing, you can read this letter if you want to read, as I mentioned earlier, on the website john-keats.com. you can find the complete letter there. And the last question, in this question there were the two blank spaces given, so I just read the complete line. If poetry come not as naturally as leaves to the tree, had better not come at all. If poetry, there was a blank space, come not, this is the answer. If poetry come not as naturally as leaves to a tree, had better not, again blank space, come at all. So means the poetry is a skill or an art. It should come to the poet so naturally as the leaves are coming to any tree. So that's all we have about the opinions given by John Keats. In the next lesson we shall consider another critique, and for the moment, thanks a lot for watching for this lesson and have a nice day.